Now let's talk about how long it actually takes to create a template. And obviously, the larger your template, the more features and pages it has, the longer it's going to create. But it's good to keep in mind that apart from actually building out your design, there are other parts of the creation process and some tasks that Webflow requires you to do. And they can unexpectedly take up a lot of time if you don't keep them in mind when creating your plan and your schedule. So let's talk about those. There are some required pages that you need to add to your template. This is a Webflow requirement. The first is a style guide. And this is going to be a page that shows how all of the base tags in your template are styled. So, all of your headings from H1 to H6, your paragraphs, links, buttons, rich text, quotes, and so on. A typical style guide page in my templates looks like this. And basically, it's meant to be a place where all the styles used in the template are listed so buyers can look at it in one glance and also make changes here that can then be carried across the website. Next is the licenses page, and this is a very simple but very important page that lists out all the licensing details of all the external assets you've used in your template. So, if you've used any photos, videos, icons, fonts, you need to provide the licenses with the links to the license on this page. Basically, this page is meant to assure your buyers and also Webflow that all the assets you've used in the template are legally safe to use. Here's an example from one of my templates where I sourced the icons from Iconify. So I wrote that icons are sourced from Iconify, this is the license link, and then make sure it links directly to the licensing page for that source. Same goes for images and fonts. Even if it's a free Google font that you're using, you need to explicitly mention its license and link to the license page. And finally, we have the instructions page. And this page is only required if your template has some very complex layouts, components, or animations, and you want to help out your users by providing them instructions on how they can customize it easily. This is an example from one of my templates where there is a more elaborate animation sequence on the landing page. So on the instructions page, I added some tips and steps in case people have trouble customizing it. Also, if you are using SVG embeds for icons, for example, you also need to add instructions for those on this page, helping users know how they can replace them and how they can edit them. For example, if they want to change the color of the icon, how do they do that? And lastly, if you're using GSAP custom code for animations, then you need to add instructions on customizing that as well. Apart from these, you also need to create a 404 error page and a password page. Now, of course, these don't need to look fancy, but they do need to match the design and theme of the rest of the template. So just keep all of these pages in mind when you're figuring out how long or you're planning how long it'll take you to create your template. And it's also worth saying that although these pages will take you quite a bit of time the first time around, by the time you get to your second or your third template, they won't actually take long because you can just start copying and reusing the template pages that you have. So you can just copy over your style guide to your latest template and make the changes there, copy over the licenses, just change the names and the links, and so it gets quicker as you move on. Apart from the required pages, there are also some SEO related requirements that you need to take care of. So, firstly, you need to make sure that all the pages in your template have SEO titles set alongside meta descriptions and open graph images. So, this is a Webflow requirement, but it also really helps to improve the discoverability of your template with search engines like Google. Plus, you need to add alt text descriptions for all the images in your template. This is important for accessibility and Webflow requires it. Now, you can either write the text yourself or you can get ChatGPT to write it for you, but in any case, that's necessary. And finally, you need to have a custom logo for your template. Of course, this doesn't need to be fancy or very professional, but it does need to match the name of your template and also match the overall design and theme of the template. So, all in all, here are my estimates for how long it currently takes me to build one of my Webflow templates. So, if I'm building a one page or a landing page template, it typically takes me between 15 to 20 hours. And this is starting from the idea to planning, getting inspiration, designing it, and developing it in Webflow, and also doing all of the required stuff that I just told you about. For multi-page templates with CMS like those $99 ones that I told you that I'm creating now, those take me between 40 to 50 hours right now. And finally, for multi-layout templates, like I told you, I haven't published one yet. I'm still working on one, and it has already taken me 60 plus hours, although I would say that it's near completion. So I would put my estimate for multi-layout templates between 60 and 70 hours. Do keep in mind that the first time around, it will probably take you longer to create your template than the estimates that I just shared with you. And that's perfectly normal. As you move on to your second and third template, you learn a lot of stuff. And like I said, you can also start reusing a lot of things. Like you can just copy over your required pages and make changes there. And then also, you don't always have to create a new navigation bar or a new contact form from scratch. You can just copy over what you did for another template and make changes to it so that it fits the latest template you're working on. And that actually ends up saving you a bunch of time.